So I've already done a few videos to whet your appetite about costuming, a little bit of hair preparation, ornamentation, especially for ballet class, buns, and certain little gadgets and clips to put in your hair. And yeah, I'm just touching upon a little bit here and there. Again, if you want the full versions of these videos that go more in depth, if you want to get the books, you have to pay for them. And this is just, just something very simple and how can I say, like a broad overview, a broad stroke of the many things that I do. And, there's a lot that goes on in an artist's life, in their minds and in their process, and there is no right or wrong answer. This just gives you an idea of what you can try to do with your own process. Okay, so this was from my cancer piece. There's different sections to it. There is one that I started working on in 2008, towards the end of 2008, it was a hopeful inclusion to, I believe it was a 2009 school production. And I have the music and all, like I showed you my choreographer's notebook. But this I want to kind of delve into something that not everybody talks about. And it is very important, but when your piece, even if you're doing a film, requires special effects costuming or special effects makeup, and this would be an example of one of them. And this was a piece that I did get to do, and it's been done in various formats, and it has been done with different costuming, and it was quite intense. So this piece is called Let This Be My Last Battleground. That title actually was a Star Trek, the original Star Trek title. And I thought that was an amazing title, even as a kid. And I thought, okay, are we allowed to use that again for something else? And so, yes, I looked it up, and my husband had looked it up, and we asked an attorney, and they said, yes, you may do that. And it was kind of fun because we actually got in touch with somebody from the show and said, thank you, and we were inspired to do this, and they gave us their blessing. And so we have Let This Be My Last Battleground as the title. And let me show you here. This, I'm going to cover up my contact information here. I don't want everybody to see it. But this was my pitch. It was just going to be done as a, kind of informal-esque student piece. And really, I hadn't been a student. I was a student because, let me see, how can I explain this? Because I went back to my beginning, and I'm not going to do that ever again. Not go back to my beginning, but go back to my beginning in this way, where I put myself underneath people when I was really their equal. I was trying to be humble, and in doing so, I wasn't treated well all the time. But then, some occasions, I was treated very well, and I was highly respected. They thought I was like half their age, and I was actually closer to their age than they realized. But eventually, some of them came around and they realized it, and now we have great relationships. And I wasn't trying to fool anybody, but again, who goes around bragging about their age? Yeah, I look great for my age, and I'm almost your age, and why make somebody feel bad? But after a while, I had to let the cat out of the bag because I was highly disrespected, and I had to say, you know what, guys, I'm not as naive and ignorant in dance as you would like to believe. Just because I went back to my beginning to rehabilitate my body, long story, don't worry about it. Everything's good now. But I want to talk to you about the special effects, costume, hair, and makeup that you may need to do or want to do. This is a very ambitious piece, and I was very happy to pitch it, but they turned it down, And why? I don't know if that really matters, but it was. And I went on to do it myself, the whole thing. And some of it we have online, some of it we kept back. So part of this pitch was the costumes. And I had a woman with cancer, and I had, for this section anyway, and 3 dancers that were metaphorically portraying cancer, like death, tenacity, seduction, ferocity, and they had similar designs. And they were going to have a sheer mesh layer over flesh color opaque leotards, sheer mesh layer of airbrush to make them look emaciated. It was pretty intense, and a mesh kind of like a cap over their head. That's exactly what this says right here. And this is exactly what I pitched. A mesh cap covers head. Not to make them look like burglars, but to distort their features. And I was playing around with it. And you can actually do cool things with your face. Mangling it a little bit with mesh pressing up against it. And so that is considered a special effects, as easy as it is to do. So, you know, somebody actually took that idea. I don't know how they got a hold of it. I think I do now. And I didn't appreciate it and still don't appreciate it. And I ended up being that person's very, 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 remember that?
Yeah.
Very, very close friend. And unfortunately, they passed on. They passed on. It broke my heart. Oh my gosh. Wasn't that a rough day?
Yeah.
What a beautiful memorial, though. Oh my gosh, I was so moved by it in a positive way. I miss that person dearly. I just don't think the person who had access to this thought I was going to become like almost best friends with that person, or amount to anything in the dance world. But the thing is, I already had a good history. I just didn't brag about it. So anyway, that would be considered a special effects costume or makeup. And, you know, so I took pictures and I drew things. And let me show you a couple of things. How do you go about doing that? You've got to take video and pictures. That's what I did. These are all my handwritten notes of all the things that were put in my pitch. And you can tell by the age of the paper and by the ink how old this actually is. And it predates that other person's, kind of like unbeknownst to them, possibly copy of my own pitch and dance. I'm like, very peculiar. But anyway, so don't take these designs, again, copyright, and I already put them into fruition and made them part of my dance. Here you go. This is the one woman with the cancer, and her ties here, and this is special effects makeup too. And we actually performed this, and it was very challenging to do. The one section you guys are probably very familiar with is rosewood. And this whole thing is based on my cancer experience when I was in the cancer clinic. And I'm not the main focus. I am one of 3 altogether. And my character is displayed and has its spotlight moments, and then characters 2 and 3, or it doesn't matter. It's just we have names, and I don't really feel like revealing them. That's really just something special for people who saw the dance, read the program notes, and my performers, and myself. But we actually had names, because we represented real people. I represent myself, but I use a slightly different name. It's a very, I really don't want to mention the name I used. But we had head wraps, and one of my dancers said, and she's African American, she gave me that. And so what I was told, I said, you're okay with that? Because sometimes people can say, oh, you're, what is it, misappropriating the culture, right?
Yeah.
And no, actually, huh? Oh, sorry. And actually, I do have African blood in my heritage, so it would be a no. I'm not doing that. But nonetheless, I wanted to be respectful. And so I said, how can we get these to stay on? I don't know how to tie these. When I was in the cancer clinic, you know, we did variations of this. I did not lose all my hair. It thinned out, broke, a lot of different things happened. So, you know, it was different for me than a lot of people. But this was one variation, you know, tied at the nape of the neck. But my dancer said, no, 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 no. Here, let me show you how to do it. So she showed me and my other dancer how to twist, tuck, tie, and wrap it. So she gave it to me, and I thought, thank you. So if you want to see the original version, you can see. But we all have different costumes on. The version that Rosewood that's online does not have this costume, but it has this one. And we were going back and forward between, do we want to present the costumes like this with the hair like this? And you know, so we decided to do a combination of the head wrap and this. And at this point in Rosewood, they're like chemises. I love working with that A-line look. Is about here in length, but there's another portion when it's about here. So and we used earth tones to kind of match the skin, because cancer has no prejudice. It goes after whoever wants to go after, really. So we all had different chemises that were reflective of our own skin tone, which was also reflective of us, the 3 last soul survivors in the group of cancer patients that I was with in the cancer clinic. We started off with, I keep going back and forth between 12 and 10, because here's the thing, I was looking, you forget things as you go along. There were 2 that kind of overlapped with our group, so they were part of 12, but really there were 10. But I'm not going to split hairs, there's between 10 and 12 people. And do you remember some of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was sad, huh?
Uh-huh.
It was really sad. So I was actually the sole survivor of that whole group, which kind of interesting. But we're talking about special effects, costuming, and stuff like that. So the choreography required for very interesting things to happen, and I'm not going to give away everything, but let's put it this way, the costumes became props, and it was very creative. Very, very creative. Here I have a list of all of those things, how they start on stage, movements, types of things, the feelings that they go through. Again, I showed you my other binders of how thorough I am. And so this is another version of it. I had made, I want to say 4 copies, and it was in black because it's cancer. Cancer is black, you know. It's really like mold, and I wanted it reflecting of that. And on the outside of it, I put different emotions that would, and each one of the folders had a different set of emotions that you can go through getting cancer. And so I went through the whole process of that. The mythology behind it, good versus evil. I really, really broke it down again. But this is special effects costuming, because I had a call for not only cancer being portrayed with, you know, the mesh stocking over the head, and like I said, somebody did that, and I was like, why does my dance look like what happened exactly? You know, you like access, and I'm like, I think I know. So, as much as I love, I'm like, I don't think that was nice or fair. That's theft. But, you know, we have a portion of this where the stocking is spray painted, and actually a very, it's a dream sequence is what I'm trying to say. So it's not hokey or corny. It was supposed to be the dream sequence, and it was supposed to be very outrageous, almost very abstract, but like I said, it was a dream, and we were going to use foam pieces to create different things like claws and the different aspects of cancer that it can take on. not too literal because that's not what cancer looks like, but it's a figurative way of showing it. So we were going to use the different pieces of foam underneath the mesh to give that idea. And then when cancer was faced not in the dream sequence, it would be less intense. But nonetheless, it required special effects makeup. So you have to draw it out, what you're seeing, and then you have to try, well, is this even practical? And yes, it was, because we practiced and we did all these things. And you gotta see, is it gonna look too ridiculous? Is it gonna look too scary? So we had to tone some things down and ramp other things up so it would be seen properly. And you gotta be careful, especially with something like cancer. Like, what do you do with that? Hold on just a second. This is not my form. But it was very, very intense. So the part that I had proposed to do for this one particular school was just the dream sequence. Very macabre, very, very interesting. But it was kind of the nightmares that I was having when I had my cancer treatment, because the medication, the treatment itself, it puts your body in such a place that it not hallucinates, but you dream very vividly and intensely. And a lot of people who catch the flu or a bacterial infection will also have heavy-duty dreams like this. So it's very interesting to study that subject on its own. But anyway, I want to get back to this too. Go look at the Rosewood rehearsal footage that we had. The makeup was really interesting. That section, Rosewood, is not the battleground section, which, the title itself is kind of concerning to me, because this other person did a piece and they just called it Battleground. I ended up putting that in our festival anyway, because I'm like, you know what, I love everybody. Yeah, it's not too nice that what happened. I don't blame that person, because, like I said, we became really close friends. But anyway. Okay, so Rosewood has these costumes with this head wrap. This is for the nightmare section for my character that we ended up not doing for the school, but for something else. But these head wraps, not only were they considered a special effect, but a prop. Why do I say a special effect? Because we had to do certain things with them. At the end, we had to unwrap them. We also had to figure out how to keep them on our heads, because we were jumping around. If you look at Rosewood, we're doing all sorts of things, almost upside down on our heads a couple times. And, it took a couple tries, excuse me, before we actually got it right. We figured out if we make a little bun at the nape of our necks here, we could hook the wrapping underneath of it and let it catch, and they would stay on a lot longer. So then how do you keep this part on from going, well, normally if you're just wearing it every day like fashion, which is a legitimate way to wear too, you don't have to worry about it doing this too much. So the only thing we found out, save from using hairpins or bobby pins, is tying those suckers so tight that it would leave a mark on our skin after the performance, like a little red dent here, and he just got used to it. And sometimes I get migraines triggered from it, but I'm like, it's for the art, what the heck. But anyway, it was such an honor to be able to do that section, that piece. And we had special effects makeup, which is something that goes beyond just blush, rouge, eye stuff, eyelashes, It's anything that's out of the norm or regularity. So we tried it a lot of different ways. Sometimes it was just too much. Sometimes my very close friend who was producing the show that included our piece, said, you know what, it's not enough, I can't see it, so then we had to ramp it up a little bit until you find just the right place for it, and then we found the right place for her, and she was very helpful. But you can see that we put makeup in here, and here, and in here. I really went to town on it. I had fun. And it made us look emaciated, because I was very much underweight. 80-something pounds, which is too, even for me, even though you can kind of see my clavicles anyway, they were even more so. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It was kind of weird to do it and do it as far as makeup, because then I'm like, oh my gosh. Right? Remember that?
Yes, I do.
It looked good though, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should put the link to that dress rehearsal of Rosewood.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we have it up already. And we've done it many different places in many different ways. In some places we didn't want to go to town on the makeup because it would have been too macabre for the moment, and we just wanted to celebrate, you know, life. And we did it, we ended up doing it for several nonprofit cancer outreaches, and I had different costuming completely. Like one we had, it was all white and then blue ombre, is that how you say it? OMBRE, where it has a gradient. It goes from white to a lighter blue to a darker blue. And I did not make those costumes. My friend who did this show actually did. So thank you, Denise, for that. What else do I want to say? You know, you got to just keep trying it. Oh, yeah, here's the date, December 30th, 2008, when I was pitching it for the January, what was the deadline on this one? January 22nd. Send it back by January 19th. Yep. And it had the music, and we had other special effects for that dream sequence, because my character, like everybody is, when you go through cancer, you have to say, well, what is the end result here? Was my prognosis? And death is always possible with cancer, no matter what stage it's at, but less and less these days, and, you know, treatment almost killed me twice, but you know, it can be scary, and so my character went through that dream sequence, and I wanted it to be very much intense like my nightmares were, and macabre and overblown without being too comical. You really have to be careful when you do something out of the norm. You want to make sure you get the right tone and quality and balance. So this is just one little example, and please do not take my ideas. At this point, this is all, I've already done it, even though somebody else took my idea. I'm like, well, you know what? The only people that knew about it were. So it doesn't leave much of an option. Plus I know who knew that other person who ended up doing that. I'm like, I don't know. I do know. Why do that to me? I loved you, like, intensely. Very, very interesting to me. But anyhow, yeah. So, like I said, this saves me from a lot of that too. But I did it anyway. I was like, you know what? This was originally my idea. Too bad on the other person. Yeah, all my notes. This paper is dated. You can tell. It's very old. The lines are very light. This is amazing that I have this stuff. Oh yeah, here, look, I have the design of the portfolios that I submitted too. I design everything. And it says here, portfolio design 1 in 3 will, and 1 in 3 will contract cancer. And here's another stat. 75% breast cancer victims succumb, 1 in 8 breast cancer. And then I fastened it with a ribbon, and I put a little like heart locket made out of, you know, cardboard design paper, and I wrote the word hope on it, because you must have something to cling to that's positive, I would hope, because you don't want to pass from the disease. So what is there that you have to cling to? And that's exactly what you have to cling to, hope. And, you know, there's a lot here. I'm so glad we still have this. Yeah, see my portfolio. This is how old this is. What is that? Over 10 years. Isolation, sorrow, fear, hopelessness. And so with each one of these portfolios, because I made 4, I put one of each of these words on their portfolio. It might have been almost prophetic looking back, because I remember which ones got which words. I played around with haikus. I had not done that before. My whole pitch was a piece of art. But like I said, if you're going to do special effects and special design, you really have to take your time. Play around with it, look for the tone and what you're trying to convey and how you want it to come across. You know, I really hope that they weren't laughing their asses off at me with the costume design here. Where is it now? Where'd you go? This one. You know, because it almost looks alien-like. And I didn't mean it to come across funny. I knew what I was doing, and I implemented it very, very well, if you ask me. But of course I knew it could have been borderline hokey. But I seem to be doing pretty good with my dances. But that gives you an idea. Now, also another thing to keep in mind, special effects. We've been playing around with hair design a lot. Not just recently, but, you know, just a lot. And I don't know if you could see this, but in my other videos, you can kind of see it when I put my hair up, and then I'll turn to the side. I have what's called low lighting, under lighting. You know, you can highlight your hair and make it lighter. You can put darker shades of what you have and create like an ombre. I don't know if I'm saying that right. O-M-B-R-E kind of look. I did it once for Red Rubans too, just playing around with hair and stuff. So we tried to do something like dark. This is very dark auburn. Would you call this dark auburn? I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, something.
Something like that. And we wanted to see how that would look in photos. So if you look at our new Breathe for Awakenings and Beginnings poster, you can kind of see the low lighting, and it really makes the lighter shade of red stand out. I don't know if I'm going to keep this or not. My roots are already growing out, so it's lighter. It's weird. I got 3 shades here. Dark, almost normal, and then right here it's really normal. It's so funny. Anyway, so if people were wondering, hey, what's she do with their hair? Some people get really like into every detail of me. If it's friendly, I'm fine with that, but if it's just, you know, I don't know what you're thinking, I don't care for that too much. But if it's just fun and it doesn't mean anything past just interest, just to let you know, that's what we were doing, just kind of playing around with it. And it did exactly what we were hoping to do, because if you look in the Breathe posters and those pictures that we did, you can see the dark here coming out. So it's like from here to the nape of the neck, there's like about that much that we made dark, and then slowly, like a gradient ombre, right? To the, whatever this is, the rest of the other color, my normal color. And it looks really good, I think, in the photos. It does, like I said, it does what we wanted it to do, create depth. And yeah, So that's something else to think about. That would be considered a special effect. So what I want to do to finish this up is what we did with this is kind of like a special effects, but for hair. And when you're on stage, you know, you can't play around too much. You have some leeway of what you can do with the effects, with lighting, costuming, hair, makeup, you know. In film, you have a lot more imagination to play with because there's, you know, computer digital effects that you can use. But for the most part, you can come up with some pretty creative ideas. So anyway, this is just a little bit of special effects. Now, I have several videos, and some of them I have to get permission to repost from the model and one of my dancers. I just like to do that. We already posted it, but we only got permission to post it on our social media, but not this platform. And I want to get permission for that as well and see if it's okay with them. If not, we have plenty other designs, me painting all over myself, and it's a lot of fun. But all that is special effects makeup. And yeah, so hopefully this gives you, you know, some insight. And if you want the full version of this, the videos, the how-to, tutorials, books, those you pay for, look at the linkage. And yeah, if you don't see the links, hit us up and we'll make sure we get them to you. But anyway, that's all for this video. So thank you very much. Rock on, Dance Warriors, and peace. Bye.